Yo, what is up, guys? So today we're going to be taking a look at the rogue class. We have a few things brought up on Wowhead here, just to kind of go over. I'm going to give you guys a few reasons to play rogue and a few reasons to not play rogue. All ultimately up to you. And if you decide that you want to play this class, there are so many reasons to play it. There's so many reasons not to play it, along with every other class in the game. But without any more, let's just kind of get into reasons to play the rogue. Well, I'll give you 5 reasons to and 5 reasons not to. So pretty much getting right into it. Why play the rogue in D4? Okay, rogues are probably one of the most versatile classes when it comes to D4. It pretty much allows you to adapt to any situation. You can choose between Shadow Realm, Archery, Traps, Combo Points, and each of these offer pretty much niche playstyles depending on what you decide you want to do. So one thing I would say is the versatility of it, just being able to go with either ranged, melee, kiting with traps. All these things are really good reasons to play the rogue. And if you kind of like that diversity, that range to melee, the traps, like any of that, then this class might be something that you'll enjoy. Another reason to play would be rogues are going to be one of the most mobile classes in the game. The rogue is exceptional at moving. They have an extra dash. One thing that rogues can do is they have like rolls. They have the ability to dodge. Like they're just gonna be pretty much one of the higher like don't get hit kind of classes with their mobility. With you stacking dexterity, they're gonna be such a just really mobile class. Something that you would want to kind of get in and get out with. One thing I can say about rogues is that if you decide to play melee, you'll have the ability to get in, do a large burst of damage, and then still have that escape. So one thing that's good to know is, sorry, let me fix this. One thing that's good to know about rogues is that when it comes to building dexterity, revolving around crit, you're going to be debuffing. You're going to be pretty much giving every class a run for their money in terms of the damage that you're going to be putting out. On top of having the mobility that you have, being able to choose whether you want to be ranged, whether you want to be melee, that's just kind of the cherry on top. So another reason to play rogue, and our third reason is going to be dual wielding and weapon mastery. So one of the main features of rogues is being able to have 2 one-handed weapons on while also carrying a bow. Now, why does this kind of provide benefit? Additionally, most classes only get the aspects. So let's take a look at the aspects here. You'll be able to pretty much take advantage of an extra legendary slot while also playing whichever class you prefer. So what this means is you get the stats from a bow while playing melee and the stats from melee while playing with bows. Why is this important? Because ultimately your dexterity is going to be through the roof, being able to have this extra piece of gear with whatever you decide to play. Now, another reason to get into rogue is going to be the stealth. They are the stealth class. They are the trap class. You're going to be able to play around being sneaky, placing these traps, pretty much being able to just control the battlefield to get to the enemies. You're going to hit them with these debuffs, and then you're going to get these damage bonuses, and pretty much you're just going to be demolishing things with like just devastating ambushes. And just one thing about being proficient in the traps is that you're just going to be able to control the battlefield. you're pretty much gonna have the same like feel of a sorcerer, like a frost mage or a frost sorcerer, while playing a trap style from your rogue. So you'll pretty much get in stealthy, ambush, lay a trap down, lay a few different traps down, and then incapacitate whatever enemies, whatever group of enemies, while also dealing like dot damage or huge burst, and then getting out with your insane mobility. So that's my fourth reason as to why we would play Rogue. And my last reason to play Rogue is going to be they just look cool. Like the things that rogues get, they're just like the sneaky like in Diablo 3, the coolest looking class was the Demon Hunter. Like they're just the cool guy of Diablo. That's just what they are. They're aesthetically pleasing because they're just ominous, and they're more like, without being a full-blown necromancer, they just have a dark, eerie sense about them. So if you're someone that really just enjoys the immersion of just that rogue feel, and just liking the way that you are stealth, and like just that feel is gonna be super cool, just because of how aesthetically pleasing rogues are going to be. Now, I'll give you a sixth tip, and what kind of puts me onto rogues a little bit more. Not that I'm playing a rogue, but when it comes to PvP, I'm going to say that rogues are probably going to be one of, if not the best, single-handed class in PvP, just because they're able to get in, do high burst damage, and get out. They're going to be really hard to hit. That is just 100% going to be what it is. Now, on the flip side, and reasons not to play the rogue, in the same sense of them being able to get in and do high burst, they're also really defenseless when it comes down to it. They are pretty much going to prioritize agility and defense and mobility, but at the trade-off, they're going to be losing durability. So what does that mean for you? That means that if you misplay your rogue in any way, you're heavily punished for it. You're severely punished for it. To the point to where in late game, you'll more than likely, if you click your abilities in the wrong order, or if you sneak up wrong, you're one shot and you're just dead. Now, if that's something that kind of appeals to you, where you're kind of going to be like a glass cannon, I mean, that could be your playstyle. Personally, for me, I'll be playing the Barbarian, as I said in the last video, where, what does that mean? It means that I'm going to go in, they're going to know that I'm here, I'm going to slam everything down, and I'm going to blow it up. That's the trade-off, though. That's what you get from playing with such high mobility and burst. You kind of have to trade off in the fact that you're a sheet of paper that can easily be ripped. Now, one thing I can say is, when it comes to the rogue class, their AoE is going to be a little bit more limited than, say, like Barbarian or Sorcerer, like Lightning Sorcerer or Druid even. Like, they're specializing in high single target burst. They're one of the most agile classes, but with that comes high single target damage. So if you want to just be the guy in the group that kind of like walks up to the boss, slaps him a few times, and then everybody's like, oh, thanks, man, you just soloed that guy, that's going to be pretty much what you do, while pretty much being fucking cakewalked through any other content, and you just kind of stay back and maybe do a little bit of ambushing, get in the middle, and then get out. You're not really going to be the main like blow up of the Nightmare Dungeons. You'll do very well on world bosses. You'll do very well on end of dungeon bosses. But when it comes to clearing through that and getting through, you're probably not going to be the best. Leave that to your sorcerers and your druids. My third reason for rogues to not play them is they're very reliant on resource management. So the reason that rogues are going to be one of the higher like skill capped is because of how you have to really focus on your resource management. Your skills and abilities consume focus or energy and you just really have to maintain the optimal resource level, and it's crucial for maximizing your damage output. Now, if you want more like a constant resource management, like that's cool, but if you don't really want to have to like pay attention to what you have, you might want to look into maybe like Barbarian or Necromancer, who kind of always have their resource, and everything they do is going to pretty much be resource based, whereas Rogue is going to be heavily reliant on the resource that you currently have. My fourth reason on Rogues is the same, and on the other foot of what we said earlier, is that they're really, really complex. This is going to be probably the highest skill cap class in the game, and if you like that complexity, you're really going to enjoy the Rogue. You're really going to enjoy how rewarding it feels to play this class at the top level. You're really, really going to feel the rewards that you're reaping from playing the class correctly. Whereas for me on my Barbarian, I don't necessarily have to play the Barbarian in a certain order or click in a correct way. And it's going to pretty much be a lot more forgiving on literally any other class than the Rogue. So that complexity might sway you away from what the Rogue has to offer, because you're going to see some of the best players playing Rogue because of how well they can play it and get that reward back from playing this class. Now, my final reason as to why you might not want to play Rogues is it all comes down to personal preference. If you don't like the way they move, if you don't like feeling like you have to dodge and get in and out, and you kind of have to rely on your team to kind of clear everything out before that you really shine, it's going to be boiled down to your personal preference. And if you check out my last video, I really stress that in the what class should you play video. It's really any class that you choose to play is going to be based off of how you feel. So whether that be you don't like the agile kind of get in, get out, you prefer more of staying at ranged and blasting enemies away with huge AoE, you're probably going to want Sorceress. You're going to want that flashy kind of like just zapping everything, maybe casting like ice and slowing and just never having to get into the fight. And then the off chance that you do, you just kind of blink away, you might want to play the Sorceress. If you want to rely on companions and pets, you might want to look into like the Druid or the Necro. But for Rogue specifically, the way that they play is going to be very, very particular to very few people. They're going to be played a lot throughout because of how well they're going to perform. But ultimately, the people that are going to have the most success on the Rogue are going to be the people that naturally play that kind of play style with whatever game that they play. So that's my 5 reasons and 5 reasons not to play Rogue for D4. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment, like and subscribe. If you don't like the video, dislike it. But without that, you have a wonderful day.